sorry sight. This was once Belrose Shopping Centre. This little stub is what's left.
Are you right?
Also, I'm just watching a good YouTube video. Yes. So, I play this, of course. It's illegal to do this, but I like to preserve history. Yeah, the success of this shopping centre has fallen to the death knell, or near death knell, of money and greed. And this is a very powerful illustration. But to these people, it's not nice, but life goes on. So they say as a general collective. But it still has to be documented, because it's going to be a lot worse things than the shopping centre losing out to the death knell of money and greed. Corporations look like they're going like this. And I believe that corporations will virtually annihilate themselves, and power generation will cease in its entirety in the year 2023. And months ago I had hoped that maybe the world changes its way it does business, that maybe this shopping centre would become a beautiful big sparkling green beautiful place, but it looks like when the power goes out, well, the world will go into chaos. These two characters walking past could have been the solution, but they're not listened to. Nobody listens to us, the nerds and the geeks. This is Monday, and still during the working hours, and here they are, unemployed, or maybe they're at school, but no one wants to know them. No one sees the solution is right in front of them. And this guy does slave labour at the supermarket. That's one of the shops left. He would represent a more radical kind of nerd, but he doesn't look like one. Not like the other two characters you saw walking past. As far as geeks and nerds are concerned, he's one of the small minority, but don't underestimate the small ones, because they too have a huge, big help in the scheme of things. He would be classed as, well, a copier industrialist or toner head. Toner head is the term I use for specifically for photocopier nerds or geeks. And they tend to be the biggest misfits of all the misfits. And I believe in them. They need to be like that. I guess it's that survival instinct they have, that sort of radical instinct of, but the thing is, they too have given up hope. And they seem to fall the hardest, but he would be relatively healthy. He's at least got some kind of job to get him through temporarily. But he is needed for this team, as long with so a million copier industrialists or toner heads are needed for the self-guided or sentient photocopier project. And 10 million other nerds and geeks for other infrastructure and rebuilding broken infrastructure. The security operative would also probably be a toner head. A lot of toner heads have become security guards. I guess it's their ethics. Yeah, and they want to protect people, but of course, they become a bit corrupted over this, but it's not their fault. Because while we're treated as trash, yes, the sound of a carrion bird called a crow. So most of the photocopier industry is basically like, well, rotting corpses, right? Carrion birds love to eat the remains. They don't fight the beast that falls. They just let the beast fall. In the wild, in a wild place like Africa, beasts fall because they compete. A lion will take a gazelle, right? And of course, what the lion doesn't eat, the carrion birds will eat. I don't know if they have crows over there or whatever, ravens, but it's a similar principle. Except the corporates fight each other and they both appear to be equally matched as lions to a certain extent. But they'll still be carrion, they'll still be dead companies lying in ruin. So who will pick up the mess? So you could say this is the remains of corporate greediness. This is what regular people throw away, a lot of this stuff, or lose. So I'm picking this stuff up like I'm a carrion bird. So a company such as Konica Minolta is the first target to take as it destroys itself on the money and greed. You saw the shopping centre, how it looks? Well, that's what Konica Minolta pretty much looks like, or will look like. And it's going to be very cheap to buy on the stock market. And of course, Xerox is our next target. Xerox will basically, if I'm correct, consume Konica Minolta, and they'll merge under our banner. So that's what happens. And Xerox is actually run by a woman who, strangely enough, is not a non-geek, non-nerd. She is a nerd, but she's found herself out of her depth. She's somehow got herself into a spot of trouble, an existential crisis. And it's been going on for, well, more than 2 decades, I estimate. And she made a mistake. She's in the chair now. Her name is Ursula Burns. And she's really suffering, and she's got to deal with big problems within her ranks, because for some reason she's hired normal people to do most of the work. And basically she obviously thinks normal people are safe. A lot of geeks will pair with them because they're not likely to commit violent crimes. So we're often afraid of each other when we're having an existential, and we don't really flow. These people need to be woken up, and I have to wake them up and help them, encourage them, and learn to get them to make peace with each other. Yeah, this is the life of the suburb of Belmont. It's a small leafy suburb on the northern beaches. It's kind of difficult to get to if you're going by bus. This is the library. Yeah, this is just near the library. Just walking from the car to the library. That person would have probably Asperger syndrome or something similar, and that looks like his mother, and she's telling him not to behave in certain ways. Clipping, clipping, clipping. It's really awful, embarrassing. He will not survive. He will not survive being a social creature, obviously, and he cannot be conditioned to function properly, and it's quite embarrassing that someone like that has to be clipped. But I can see they're very smart, and that's where working in a technology environment, an environment where they love, could give them respect in the future, and could help the planet and help mankind. Yeah, because people like that are ethical. They're also very friendly, and their personalities are like children, innocent. And they don't like to do things wrong, but they're not perfect. They too can go bad. But he represents a very innocent sort of a guy. Socially, he's not capable under a normal circumstance, but who needs to be the same? People were made to be, all people were meant to be different, to be who they are. Normal people, can't be forced to be like us and love machines directly, but we have to prove that we can make machines better. I mean, normal people are really people who prefer to play and do recreation, but they're afraid of us, and they've successfully upended us. There was a time when photocopier art was changing the world, but there doesn't seem to be any continuity in that creative department anymore. It was changing the industry back in the early 90s, but like a lot of good things, initiatives, it went wrong, and I hate the world we have now. It's really sad to say, but I feel my talent is worthless to help inspire the normal people. Oh, they do inspire, but it's not going to help change industry now. It's too late for that to happen, and it's really depressing to think that, but I'm not depressed. But there's a lot of people, nerds and geeks, who are depressed. Now, it's okay to see the threat map and sort of be afraid for other people and to know the course of action. And the thing is, you got to basically be concerned, because this world is dangerous, and some of the things I'm doing to correct this problem or to stop the worst of it, to get these geeks to rock, is I have to do things that are outside my comfort zone, which I don't like to do. Photocopier art would have been the great thing to do. Instead, I prefer to just be rocking the photocopier and doing it that way, and not worrying about breaking silly laws that really I have to break now, because I'm struggling to get people out there to listen to my word like any geek. And as a person with Asperger's syndrome, and I hate dealing with the police or the law, the legal system's corrupt, this really upends me. I hate it, but I have to do what I have to do. So while I'm not stressed from the core, you know, I still get frustrated. I still spit the dummy at people and spit the dummy. It's that hard to get through to people. But I know spitting the dummy definitely doesn't get through, and that's why activism doesn't work. And people have activised for years. Photocopier art could have helped, but it's failed, and we're not in the age of Aquarius when it comes to that. We now have to use other methods, and often that requires breaking what we call nanny-state laws. I do not like to do this. So if the world's going to break and our shopping malls are going to break down, our beautiful environs are going to disappear, I have to video as much as I can. I have to even video inside places like Westfield, which are really strict on no cameras. But imagine if we lose everything and we don't have a record, a visual record, a diary. It's called history. In the old days, when people recorded things on camera, we didn't have this paranoia about video, you know, or TV. Back in the 1980s, you could even video people covertly and call it candid camera. You know, you play a prank and then the person finds out and then they say, "Smile, you're on candid camera." Who remembers that? Hey? And people used to want to jump in front of media cameras when they were filming or videoing just to be famous. People wanted to be famous by doing that, but now it's not like that now. You got YouTube, you got social media, but people don't want to be on camera. Scratch, what's this?
And there he is, the guy.
Yes, and to play things out from the library. Yeah, and the funny thing was, I saw a librarian here. She had a child with Asperger's as well. She saw my photocopier art and she absolutely loved it. But what really hurts is that the world never got to see it and change their lives. And the mean neurotypical carer with that, I don't know if he's autistic or Asperger, but Asperger's syndrome has now been upgraded to what they call high-functioning autism. And while the world bleeds, the rest of the world bleeds, and I finally learned how beautiful photocopier art could have been, I feel the shine has been taken off my future success. I feel the sense of loss. Although the existential crisis wasn't my own doing, I tried to cure it. And the people in the 90s believed in me and believed that photocopier art could change the world. It could have. I doubted myself. I was afraid. I got what I got. No money, no fame, no glory. Just pitiful loss. And the existential crisis I tried to self-cure didn't cure. I lost a lot. My life, my money, my age, youth, down the drain, just like that. I'll have to forgive myself. That is a challenge. But what really hurts is that so many lives I could have touched went down the drain, for real. And the environment, science, innovation, humanness, what can I do? It wasn't my fault. But the thing is, I have to forgive myself and forgive people, and I have to somehow make peace. But I feel as if the 90s were like a flash of excitement, but I wasn't online, and I now have to work out how to use my problem as an advantage to fix others before it's too late. I cannot cry for yesterday, but I have to use my failing to help others who are feeling the same way. It's not their fault either. It's easy to get tricked as an Asperger person into trying to do what is right, and then you end up doing absolutely what is wrong. Exactly defeats the purpose of your plan. And the problem is, overcoming the past is very difficult, because I just can't crack people. The photocopier art just won't is meant to be in the industry, but the industry's gone. It's disappeared from our hands. It slipped through our fingers like sands. I was young, Luigi was young, copier people were young, techno was flowing. It was a beautiful place, but I did not like it because I was in an existential and I lost my face. Yeah, I was about 20. I'm now 41. What have I got to say that I've succeeded? I didn't want to be just a photocopier artist. I thought art could not do anything except, well, art has always been considered just a hobby, and that's how people think today. They were thinking that then also, because I really wanted something serious to do, something that would give me money, but it failed globally in my life. So why in the world does a person who makes an honest mistake end up like this? And why do corporate greedies end up with billions and they end up with being on the Forbes list? Why do they get some kind of leeway when we get trashed, crushed, beaten, and then we have to belt our way up the list again with nothing to leverage? My Windows 8 desktop has been a failure. It's only lasted me barely 5 months and it's already shown failures on it. The corporations have really ripped me off, HP and Microsoft. But what can I do now? Honestly, I'm poor, I'm broke now. I'm sorry for what I did, but for some reason my penance will not pay for the damage I've done to my own life at the moment. My penance, I've done my penance. I'm sorry, I scream. But what can I do? What's done is done. But the corporate greedies don't have the same sense of regret that they've made mistakes. They are deaf, dumb and stupid. They don't care that human lives have been impacted. Their own lives don't appear to be impacted. Why do they get off scot-free? I don't get it. And if I'm just one missing link, a huge missing link on the continuum of innovation and art and creativity and science, well, how many missing links do we have that have gone unknown? Ones that won't speak up, ones that don't even, that still are existentialing, worrying about death and all sorts of horrors. How many Einsteins do we have? How many Nikola Teslas? Thomas Edisons? How many do we have? What's the number? What's the head count? We need them, but now industries don't need them. If we had a partnership with corporations, if we had proven ourselves worthy, this would have been truncated, but I'm sorry. Mistakes happen, it's called. To err is human. And getting back to the Xerox lady, her name is Ursula Burns. She's going through terrible, horrible, hellish thoughts as we speak. Ursula Burns, who's the CEO of Xerox, the big CEO, she is having one of them that I'm having. She should not be in the CEO chair, but I believe in her. She's one of the few corporate people I'll cut slack with. But like my failings, she's going to regret what she's done. She belongs in a science lab, and she's trying to be ethical. Like me, she tries to be ethical. She wants to make money, but I'm sure she didn't mean it in the bad sense, to live. For some reason, maybe she thought being in a science lab, which is where she belongs, will not pull the cash, and therefore she won't be able to live. And I reckon that on the sum of everything, Ursula Burns, though she's got money and fame to a certain extent, the fact that she's corrupted Xerox and she's hired corrupted people, she's really worrying, and the suffering she's gone through may not be intense on the same time frame, but she's been into it. She's suffered longer than I have, but she would have had a net result of her suffering would be a lot more worse than mine, and she's going to really wake up to herself in a very scary manner from what I can tell. She probably might have nightmares of children crying, people's numbers being altered on her by JBig2, and it's not just Xerox, other companies are implicated. She might see kids in hospital in a dream, for what we know, getting overdosed on certain medications and then dying, and that would be a horrible thing for Urshi. She's not like those other corporates, but she's done some serious damage, real serious damage. And she's hired because people, when they have an existential, are often afraid of people who, well, not of copier people, are unstable, and she probably hired neurotypicals. IQ 100 because she felt safe and she trusted them. I trusted them during my existential. So that sounds very plausible. And they do. They seem to look more attractive. You know, they've got a more clean appearance. But looks can be deceiving. When you get out of the existential, you work out that the people that look ugly and have criminal records are not so bad after all. In fact, they're more ethical. And now I've got to wake them up and say, hey, you're worth more than that. And basically, I want Ursula in my group. She's a great R&D person. She can be recovered. When she knows her place and who she is, she'll recover, but she's going to go through some serious trauma from my analysis. And if I was in her shoes, I would be quaking in my boots. And the dreams, you know, could be people like children drinking electronic waste and getting sick, people burning plastics to work out what type of plastic it is when they're in India or something, when they're trying to recycle them in a primitive way. The smell is absolutely disgusting in the sight. And she might see all sorts of horrible things that fortunately I have not seen. These are just ideas, it's just imagination tossing around. But you can't underestimate the power of the human mind and imagination. And Ursula might be having these dreams, but she might be facing something that's really terrifying. She might have a terrifying near-death experience that could be in her dream as well. And she's afraid of death. That's the primary fear of people with existentials, is death. She could be imagining some horrible thing happened to her, you know? Her building catches fire. Her photocopy is burned before her eyes. A horrible sight for a toner head. If I was dreaming that in my dreams, I would not want to dream it, not even once. And sometimes people have predicted things. My mother has predicted airline disasters, planes falling out of skies. People with Asperger syndrome really have this strange sixth sense. It's eerie, but please don't discount it. In the year 1990, when I worked erroneously at Xerox workshops in Sydney, I asked a question based on my heart, despite the fact I had an existential. It was based on, I love photocopiers, but I've also seen other trending as well. You see, even back then, throwaway was being implemented in so many products, and that I just put two and two together. I didn't want to see throwaway copiers. We have them today. And what I said was in the Xerox lab, and I took it not seriously. Well, I hope they don't make throwaway copiers. And now they've become very, very common. So what if Ursula is dreaming of a fire in the building, and somehow something went wrong in the circuitry of the photocopier, or something dreadful like that, and to see the hardware go up in smoke? That would terrify the living crap out of me. Pardon my language, it would just bazooka me in the head. Because that sort of thing would terrify me visually. It's terrifying. I can't watch YouTube videos when angry people do that. And even if I've read it in the blurb on YouTube, it makes me sick. It corrupts me for a moment. It makes me ill. It's disgusting. And with substandard buildings and substandard fire systems and safety procedures that don't always get acted on when they should be and they're told to, and the economics, well, I wouldn't be surprised if this could be a reality for Ursula, if my mum's predictions of aircraft are anything to go by, or my photocopy prediction was anything to go by. But yeah, before she worries about the possibility of barely surviving a possible fire in a building, she's got to deal with the other collateral fears that she's currently going through as well. These were the things I was talking about with children dying in that, you know, hardware disposal. Xerox is a very corrupt company. She's hired some corrupted people. She could be in trouble. She knows she could be liable. JBIG2, a file standard used to compress files, which works similar to the human eye, distorting numbers like sixes and eights, sixes into eights, which could kill people, say, having on medications such as clozapine used to treat mental illness. I was asking a person who worked in the industry what would happen. What would happen if a 6 turns into an 8 for a clozapine patient? Basically, the answer was, they'll die. But she was never meant to be a leader, and she's lost control of them, like an incompetent teacher has lost control of the class. She could be liable for all sorts of terrible things. But if she's liable. But if she rebels against the corporate people, who are huge numbers, she could lose her job, be voted out of the seat. She loves photocopiers, so she's between a rock and a hard place. And the dreams, well, they're absolute shockers. But she will, if she goes through that dream, and she manages, and if something like that really happens, and she survives, it'll be terrifying, but she'll come out a new woman. Sorry, this is not the magazine, but true. She'll become a new woman, but she'll have to, like me and like others, she'll have to deal with the past, and it'll take a while for her to detox of this negativity that she would have developed and these attitudes. And basically, yeah. And although she won't be in the chair pulling heaps of money like that, she'll be relieved just to be herself, to be in the research lab, doing what she's good at, what she loves to do, not feel pressured. And then she can teach that lesson like I'm going to teach it to others. Find yourself, be yourself, love yourself, and therefore love others. A very soulful place. A place of learning, of dreaming, of inquiring. A place of childhood. A child's mind loves to take things in. It just wants to learn. A child typically loves to play and create. Adults tend to lose their childhood in these wonderful attributes, and therefore they fail to be who they're really supposed to be. this is what it is. It's pretty good, isn't it? There we go.
Trapped in the incomprehensible maze. Y'all know how it be. Don't make it easy on yourself. What you get, what you get, what you get.
Copy a world. We're going back to the future canon. If you have a future.
Survive corporate greed.
Luigi. Still got the blues for the copier industry. Looks like Rico is going to be down the tube, but we've got to give it a rock anyway, Luigi. Rock the Rico, hey? Rock the Rico? Oh well, what can I say? Photocopy industry hates us.
Okay. So, I've got 10 cents in the coin box at the moment. Set this thing freaks up. Yeah, get some coin into this thing. Alright, Luigi, this is a retro coin box.
There's nothing.
Very low on money I am. But this copier bus message out. Even though the photocopier industry has abandoned us, we'll never get into the photocopier industry. I know, Luigi. I know we'll never get into the photocopier industry as it is. It's totally ruined. But we're just going to have a good time as we can, and we're going to get in there. Of course, Ryko isn't going to be the company that we're choosing to take over. Of course, you know who it is, don't we? It's kind of coming alter, but hey, Rico's going to be gone, so we might as well rock it one more time. This coin box was dispensing huge amounts of copies. It's obviously not doing that now. Bummer. also made this function, don't change. I love it, really good. I really do. So current will be yellow on my shirt, front yellow. So we're going to do some funny for this copy. This shirt, so we're going to go from purple hit the purple button for change, automatic dark. Oops, we get the screen here. Oh, printing. Okay, we're going to do B, so I really cross that copy through, don't they? So there's another colour conversion feature. And we're going to colour convert from the colour we choose. So there we go. So red, red 2. Well, what we're doing on lips, I think we're going to get the kiss and so we're going to change it to yellow lips. I mean yellow lips, hello. We want yellow lips. We really want yellow lips. We want yellow lips, Luigi. Yellow, funny Luigi. Well, you know that this is down on the damn copy system, right? So, we're going to go current view. We're going to go from black. Right? Black in the copy industry is pretty dark. And we're going to go. We're going to convert ourselves to. Okay, a bit green blue. Yeah, a bit like the ocean thing. Well, I think conversion to, I think, new, I think red to yellow is a bit yuck. So we're going to go, and we're going to go yellow, yellow. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's in the copy system hard. We're going to do that. Use the colour this one, but I'm going to decide whether we really want multiple conversions. Or conversion to, right? Then we're going to go black. We're going to be black lips. Okay, this will be really hilarious. This will be hysterical, okay? We're going to make this copy system do some pretty dumbass things, right? But it's not dumbass, it's the company's culture that's dumbass. I don't understand why copy systems have to be so stupidly manually designed, right? You know, rock the Rico, we're going to rock it out of business. I mean, hey, high copy industry is going to be put on notice. And I'm going to basically take it down. I don't care what the corporations say. They can go eat their own tiny dust, because they will be dust. And if they want to take me down and make me the dust, well, fine, I'm not scared. Because I know I can do it. I can do it. I'm the biggest copy nerd on the planet. You know, do it for love, you do it for passion, do it for the human race. Right, high copies, yeah, copy systems are bad, we design. Right, we're just so stupid. That 4 conversions usually doesn't work on this dumbass copy system. Right, it's quite incredible. Fun when you're a nerd, but it's not fun if you're not a nerd, okay? Come on, righto. You know, people start to show their colours. Yeah, colours. You know my jokes are terrible, righto, but sorry. I'm zero graphic tragic, and I'd like to make tragic jokes about the industry. Because the industry is a tragic. It's a tragic comedy. They make funny. When people's lives are at risk, or shall I say security's at risk. But then I've heard that topical tragic too, and I've heard Rico do it as well. So, sorry, righto. I don't care, but you're going to put yourself out of business anyway. Even if I don't touch you. But, you know, we're going to rock it hard, we're going to rock the Rico. Okay, we're going to rock you out of business. We'll rock the whole industry out of business. Far about 3 companies. So, we're going to go. We're going to say.
So yeah, oops, this is a bit, yeah, rocked a bit, sorry. Didn't mean to be ruffling someone else's hardware. Yeah, they'll rock it. Rock the Rico. Rock me out of this place. Oh yeah, we've got to dance to this music, Rico. Rico, rock the Rico. Now it's not, what's happening? It's taking a while to come out. Come on, Rico machine, speed it up. It's because it's printing in gloss mode. This is a higher quality mode that we're photocopying in. So it's a bit slow, it's a bit laggy, but I think the nerds could do a better job at making these machines faster, even in gloss mode. So there we go. That's really nice. We rock the Rico.
Okay, Rico, like all photocopier companies, except a few, we're basically going to drink to your demise. We're going to say, the nerds will inherit the copier world! And we'll have power over the industry. Powerade to you guys, Powerade to the nerds. The copier industry will be mine. But Konica Minolta will be mine. Sorry, Rico, you'll disappear off the map. Xerox will be taken over by Konica Minolta. And maybe Toshiba will be left, but that's probably the most that will be left in the copier industry are those three companies. Sorry, Rico, but I'm going to drink to your demise. Ha ha ha. Money and greed, don't pay the bills, don't pay the customers. Sorry, Rico. You've got to do it with passion or you're out of the game. Sweet taste of success. Power to the nerds. That's it. Power to the nerds. Rock the Rico! Out of business!
Oh yes, Luigi and Co. This machine, revised, is going to be replaced by a new biz hub. So again, information's changed now. Okay, C280, you're in power saver. Wakey, Konica. Konica Minolta. There's one here at the copier world. So if you're better, Konica. Konica Minolta. Konica. Okay, Konica. Time to buzz the biz hub, C280. Okay, buzzing the biz hub. This biz hub copier is going to be world famous. Which one will be? Oh well, whatever.
The nerds will inherit the copier world.
That I can be assured of you. To be nerds will inherit the copier world. If you don't like that, Konica Minolta, tough. Konica Minolta. Alright, I've checked the right tray. And I think we got everything here right. This is the absent-minded biz hub professor in the mix. Okay, Konica.
Gonna put the date and time on the yes. Okay, date and time, date and time. Date and time. So, Konica, you don't like it? Sorry, it's all for your better, Konica Minota. Right, time format. I think we're just going to say yes. Or we're just going to say no to that. It's just an idea. Overlay. What are we doing with our magic? Konica.
Konica Minota says, or is it Konica Minota man?
Not sure I really understand.
Yeah? Hey, I've got to finish this copy. I've got to finish this. Can I just do one more? I'm doing double. I'm doing an overlay. Sorry, I got a bit too carried away, guys. Sorry. Understandable. Konica. There you go. Sorry, guys. I just got a bit. Make the owners a bit awkward here. Okay. Okay, you're finished. Let's hope you get a good copy of this. Okay, hit the start button. Let's see what it does. Yeah, no,
So fans, this is what I just did. I got a bit too carried away here, but that's a nice copy. Just zoom in on the job. Here we go, Konica.